how to live a miserable life, inversion thinking, which is where you solve problems in reverse. So for example, if you want to have a good marriage, rather than asking the question, how do I have a good marriage? You ask the question, how would it destroy my marriage? And then you list out all the ways to destroy your marriage, and then you do the exact opposite of that. And what's interesting is that our brains are much better at finding problems than they are at finding solutions. And so what we do is we harness this innate ability that we have to find the problems, and then after finding every possible problem we can imagine, every threat imaginable, which evolutionarily we're designed to look for, then flip that in reverse to find our solutions. All right. And this is a process of thinking that I've applied to business, I've applied it to marriage, I've applied to a lot of different aspects of my life, and I would encourage you to do it as well. All right. If you don't know who I am, my name is Alex Hormozi. I own acquisition.com. It's a portfolio of companies that does over $100 million a year, and I have nothing to sell you. So the first and best way to stay poor is to start tomorrow. So whatever it is that you want to do, whether it's losing weight, saving money, starting that business, whatever it is to start tomorrow. All right. So that's the best thing you can do to stay poor, is just start tomorrow. Okay. The next one is to read lots of books and then do nothing. All right, because it's one of the, lots of people talk about reading books, and I see people all the time that I've seen for years in the exact same position posting oh yeah, I'm reading 52 books this year. That's my commitment. Instead of reading 52 books, maybe just read one book and actually do something about it. Crazy, I know. Number 3, take advice from poor people on how to be rich. All right, so think about that for a second. A lot of us surround ourselves, or at least I did when I was starting out, surround ourselves with people who are very poor, and we listen to their advice on how to be rich, and they have no idea what they are doing. And we also listen to their judgment on why our idea is stupid, even though they are poor. So what would they know? So number 3, take advice from poor people on how to be rich. Number 4, this is a big one. Pick a spouse who will make you feel guilty for working. All right. So you have your dreams, you have these things you want to pursue, but this person is saying you shouldn't do that. You need to be doing X, Y, and Z, blah, 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 blah. And then you feel like you need to compromise your dreams for that person. The problem is that you put your power of your destiny in their hands, and you're asking for permission instead of support, right? Because at the end of the day, if you don't accomplish your dreams and you did it because of them, who do you think you're going to resent? So you owe it to yourself and you owe it to your marriage to pick people who are going to support you in your dreams, even if they don't necessarily agree, right? But more easily, not put your power in somebody else, right? Number 5, fail once, quit forever, all right? So as soon as you do actually start to decide doing something, you fail immediately and say, oh, I guess this isn't for me. I guess success isn't for me. I guess business isn't for me. I guess sales isn't for me. I guess whatever the thing is isn't for me because you failed once. But it's because we have an incorrect view of failure. Because failure is a necessary part, and the thing is you learn from failure. And so it's either you win or you learn. But that is the 5th thing you want to do if you want to stay poor forever. Number 6 is think that the world is fair. So a lot of us especially me earlier on, like I would complain, I'd be like, that's not fair, this is fair, it shouldn't be this way, blah, 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 blah. And the thing is that all that complaining that I did nothing at all, whatsoever, did nothing. And so the thing is there's no activity that comes from blaming your circumstances, which just so happens to be the 7th one of how to stay poor is blame your circumstances and complain, all right? Complaining about things that you cannot control. And the thing is like these sound so obvious, but think about these in reverse again. So if the contrary of thinking the world is fair is assume the world is unfair and then act accordingly. Instead of blaming your circumstances, you thank your circumstances for who you are and what they gave you. You are who you are because of the shit that you have gone through, right? There's a saying, your mess is your message. And I think it's a very beautiful saying, because how sad would it be to wish to have a life of ease and comfort? Because strong character is built through hard times. And so if we want to have strong character, we basically must have a hard life for periods of time or for seasons. And so we can't lament the thing that creates the outcome. You can't lament the heat and the beating of the hammer to strengthen the steel, right? They go they go hand in hand. And so we just have to accept them for what they are. And as for complaining, I think you can just accept and move on. So, number 9, expect the government to save you. All right, that's a great way to stay poor. Expect the government to save you, or you can even say expect other people to save you. And the reality is, no one's going to save you except for you. And a lot of times, many people have spent their entire lives waiting around for someone to save them and still stayed poor. Number 10, value the opinion of others over your own. It's an excellent way to stay poor. You think everyone else's opinions matter more than yours. And I'll give you a secret that it took me, making a lot of money to then realize, which is you are successful the moment you say you are. Crazy, right? Like you are successful the moment that you decide you are successful. There are people who are billionaires who don't feel like they are successful, and there are people who have almost no money and absolutely think that they're an amazing success. And the thing is that they are both right. It's our choice. And I can promise you that if you try and give yourself a number, you will just move the goalpost. I promise you that from the depth of my soul. You will move the number and make something else the new goal. And once I am rich, then whatever. But it's a when-then fallacy. It's not true. So you can accept and you can become successful today, because if you look at yourself compared to people in a much worse off scenario, they would love to have your life. And so you just need to decide for yourself if you are successful. The thing is, the success is a process rather than an outcome. And so you can be successful in that you are living your values of pursuit. That can mean success if you choose to define it that way. So, number 11, way to stay poor. Avoid discomfort. All right, a lot of us, we have new things. You have to take risks. You have to learn things, and it's uncomfortable because you will suck, right? Of course you will suck. It's normal to suck. But people avoid discomfort because they don't want to go through that. And it's so silly. The discomfort that they're feeling is the judgment they impose upon themselves about not being good at something they've never done before. How insane is that? Very. And that's why humans are also kind of insane when you think about the things that we do and the things that we think. And so, great way to stay poor is to avoid discomfort of all kinds. You also guarantee the number one discomfort, which is that you don't accomplish what you want in your life. 12, how to stay poor. Tolerate mediocrity from yourself and others. All right, so as you start to grow, if you're growing, a small business, or even in the workplace, if you tolerate mediocrity from others, you will beget more mediocrity, and people over time will just degrade and get worse and worse over time, rather than the reverse of that, of thinking like, I will only tolerate excellence, and anything below that is intolerable. If you think about the best leaders and the best CEOs and the most successful people of all time, they have this innate trait, right? For lack of a better term, they're ball busters, right? They hold a standard that, and here's the catch, that they themselves stay above, which means you must raise your own standards so that you can model what it looks like for other people around you to hold themselves, right? The best, most people don't need to be led. Most people need a model, and they can see that, right? And you're leading by example. And so, best thing to do to stay poor, tolerate mediocrity from yourself and others. Make promises, break promises. So you make promises to yourself, make promises to other people, and you destroy your reputation with other people, and that's a terrible thing, and it takes a long time to fix that. But the one that's the hardest one to fix is the reputation you have with yourself. You make promises to yourself, and you break promises to yourself, because the thing is, you're the only one who's holding you accountable. And I think a different version of happiness, in my opinion, is respect for oneself. And I think your own respect is the hardest to earn, because you know how hard you could have pushed. You know if you could have gone for an extra mile, you could have showed up to the gym more times, you could have eaten better, you could have made more cold calls, you could have done more reach outs, you could have made more content, you could have actually done left a nice note for somebody on your team when you were too tired to do so. You could have over-delivered on the product, you could have made a better version of that video, and you decided to put it up anyways, even though you knew it wasn't as good as it could have been. And so you make promises to yourself, and then you break promises to yourself, and you lose respect in the process. It's an excellent way to stay poor. Number 14, wait for perfect conditions. All right, this is a great one. Great way to stay poor. It's one of my favorites. You gotta wait for everything to be perfectly aligned for you to be successful. And here's the secret. There are never gonna be perfect conditions. And here's what's even crazier. If you need perfect conditions to be successful, the moment the conditions change, you will stop being successful. So you might as well start when the conditions are their absolute worst, because it means that they will only get better from there. And if you can prove success when things get bad, when they get bad again, which is guaranteed, you will still remain successful because you have learned how to do it in this time, in this circumstance. Make sense? Great reason to not wait for perfect conditions. 15, prioritize looking rich over being rich. This is a classic one of poor folks in general. I get the loving amount of troll comments that I get from the fact that I'm in my mama's basement and wearing a wife beater and wearing a nose strip, right? Must mean that I am poor. Of course, right? Because you confuse looking rich with being rich, right? Which is silly. You have to prioritize being rich, which means spending less for a long period of time, because you are not valuing the opinion of other people over your own, because you respect your own approval more than that of other people. You have to be willing to die to the opinion of others rather than dying to the opinion of yourself. And I mean that. It's real shit. Stop trying to look rich. Be willing to look poor. All right? And I know that's contrary to dress the part and all that stuff, but the thing is you gotta be real to you, or you'll be real to no one. And that's a promise. Number 16, avoid working on what matters most. All right, this is a great way to stay poor, is that you work all day long, you're busy, you're full of activity, you're doing stuff, and nothing important moves forward. Because the nature of speed is not about activity. The people who are the richest in the world aren't doing the most stuff. They're doing the right stuff, right? And they're making sure, better stated, making sure the right stuff gets done in general, whether or not it's them or someone else. And so it's looking at the many things that you can or could do, and picking the very few that are the ones that move the needle the most. And typically, they're the ones that you do not want to do and you are procrastinating on. And you can probably eliminate all the stuff that give you the mental masturbation of getting stuff done without actually moving the ball forward towards your goals. So it's a great way to stay poor. It's just keep doing stuff that does not matter. If we were to reverse these, and this is what I'm going to hit this with hard, start today. Read books, do the stuff that's in the books. Take advice from rich people on how to be rich. Pick a spouse who makes you feel awesome about working. Fail once, try again. Think the world is unfair and act accordingly. Never blame your circumstances. Thank your circumstances for making you who you are. Instead of complaining, do something. Expect no one to save you except for yourself. Value your opinion over those of other people. Seek out discomfort. Tolerate nothing but excellence. Make promises, keep promises. Wait for the worst conditions. Wait for imperfect conditions and act anyways on what you want, right? Avoid working on the stuff that doesn't matter. Work on the things that matter most. Ignore the rest. Say you're going to do something and then do it.